Welcome to Dolphins Today by Chat Sports. We have a loaded show as rookies reported to training camp today on July 16th. Also on today's show, Jaelan Phillips, a potential injury update after he suffered a torn Achilles on Black Friday against the Jets. And then at the end of the show, Brandon Aiyuk, is a trade incoming. And I want you to stick around because Miami is not going to make a trade for Aiyuk, but a trade could impact the Dolphins. Stick around by what I mean with that. But first, let's take a check on Jaelan Phillips, the former first-round pick who has already had his fifth-year option picked up, not for this year, but the following season as he's entering year 4 in the NFL. He put out an Instagram story of him working on the ladder, working on his shuffle, his quick movements, and when you're coming off of a torn Achilles, the speed that he was doing this ladder drill at is not normal. And I would advise you to go check it out on Jaelan Phillips' Instagram. You see the handle in the top left there. Go watch the video, because when you watch it, you will come away with one thought and one thought only. And this is the same thought I had. It's like, I'm watching Jaelan Phillips go through this ladder workout, and this is someone who is absolutely going to be ready to play Week 1 against the Jacksonville Jaguars. I didn't know if it was going to be the truth. I didn't know if he was going to be 100%. But the fact that we're in mid-July and he's pumping through these workouts the way he is, it puts him on track, in my opinion, to be ready for contact drills and be a part of the team in a month or 5 weeks, which would then give him 2 weeks to get prepared for the Jaguars because we are 7 weeks away from NFL Week 1 between Miami and Jacksonville. And that's big for the Dolphins because he is one of the key pieces on this Dolphins defense, and he was on pace to have a career year just a season ago. And he's someone that is not an injury-prone guy, right? His first 2 seasons, he played in all 17 games, and he performed extremely well after being a first-round pick out of Miami. 8.5 sacks, 7 sacks. And just halfway through the year, he had 6.5 sacks and 43 tackles. Like, he almost equaled his statistics in productivity in his first 2 seasons in just 8 games for the Dolphins. It is a travesty that he ended up missing the rest of the year with that torn Achilles because he was going to put up massive numbers for this Fins defense. And having Jaelan Phillips ready to go Week 1 against the Jags would be absolutely massive because he is not the only edge rusher on this team dealing with an injury. Bradley Chubb is trying to recover from a big-time knee injury that he suffered late last season. And when you think of the top 5 edge rushers on this team, it is among some of the best, if not best groups in the entire NFL. Phillips and Chubb is a dynamic duo. And then you get Shaq Barrett joining you in free agency after you lost Andrew Van Ginkel, Jerome Baker in that linebacker department. You get Barrett on a cheap deal. You draft Chop Robinson in the first. You get Mo Kamara, who's an absolute steal, by the way, in the 5th round. Like, I really like this group. But there was skepticism, like, if Phillips and Chubb aren't 100% ready to go Week 1, well, then we're in a really bad spot because you're going to have to get after Trevor Lawrence and Josh Allen at the beginning of the season in Weeks 1 and 2, but you don't have your top 2 guys. Well, now it feels like they might, at least Jaelan Phillips might be on track to be playing Week 1 or at least Week 2 against Buffalo, which is a big-time news for this Dolphins defense as they need to get after the pass rusher to help out that secondary. But let me know, and you predict it for me down in the comment section. Will Jaelan Phillips play in Week 1? 7 weeks away. How about that, folks? Type P for play or type W for won't. All right, let's transition into some rookie reporting because training camp is underway. We have some news as Mark Perry and Taj Washington had some injury notes that we'll share in just a second. But with rookies reporting to camp, I wanted to come out here and say, like, who I'm most excited to watch, if you will, because these are my top 5 rookies, and these are not in order of where they were drafted. Obviously, Chop was the first pick, Patrick Paul was the second, Jaylen Wright was the third, Mo Kamara was the fourth, and Malik Washington was the 5th. And I believe, though, in terms of the ones that I'm more fascinated to watch, Malik Washington, number 1, the 6th-round rookie out of Virginia. I think he's going to be a stud. I can't wait to watch him in training camp in the preseason. I'm also very excited to watch Chop Robinson find a role on this Dolphins defense as he was a first-round pick. Jaylen Wright, team trades a future third-round pick to acquire a fourth-round pick and select the Tennessee running back. Mo Kamara, I can't wait to see how he impacts this Dolphins defense. And I put the Dolphins second-round pick, Patrick Paul, at 5 on my ranking of people I want to watch. Why? Because Paul is slotted in to be the backup no matter what, unless an injury occurs to a Teron Armstead or Austin Jackson. Paul will be a backup tackle this season no matter what, which is fine, but it just doesn't add a lot of intrigue for me to watch him. And I wanted to showcase some UDFAs I want to keep my eye on for as well, but as we went live on our Tuesday live show at 3 p.m. Central Time, this tweet was announced by the Miami Dolphins. As rookies report to camp, you now are able to make these type of roster decisions. They play safety Mark Perry out of TCU, UDFA, who I want to talk about here in just a second, on the active/non-football injury list, and then 7th-round pick Taj Washington, the wide receiver out of USC, he went on the PUP list. You could be taken off any time, so maybe this could just be a precaution, give him a week or two. Let's at least hope that's the case, because if Taj Washington's on the PUP list for a majority of training camp, there's going to be absolutely no chance he makes this team and will likely have to be a stash on the practice squad in all likelihood. But this did want to segue into the UDFAs I would like you at home to keep an eye on, because they are who I have an eye on. Storm Duck, who was one of the more sought-after UDFAs by Chris Grier in this Dolphins front office, because he received a pretty nice chunk of change in terms of guaranteed money. At least it was among the highest in the UDFA class. The former North Carolina Tar Heel and Louisville Cardinal can fit in, play a little safety, play a little bit of cornerback. I think he is going to give some veterans a run for their money to make this roster and also provide some special teams value. Mark Perry, the UDFA out of TCU, obviously was on the injured list now, but I think there's a good chance he could fight. I saw a training clip just a week ago of him working with Stephon Diggs and locking up. I think Perry is someone who's got a good amount of upside and maybe could beat out Elijah Campbell for that safety 4 spot. Have to look at that. The last two I want to talk about, Hayden Rucci, the tight end from Wisconsin. Loaded tight end room, so it's going to be a long road for Rucci to make the squad, but he is someone that is a really good blocker, and if he improves his pass catching and route running, maybe the Dolphins want to keep a swing on him, at least keep him on the P squad. And then Matthew Jones, the interior offensive lineman from Ohio State. Dolphins, we know they need guard help. If Jones is able to put together a nice July and August, maybe he can try to make this roster. Make sure you are subscribed, by the way, because we will have daily coverage of Miami Dolphins training camp. We'll be live for all 3 preseason games as well. If you want to stay locked in on your Fins, this is the channel for you, so hit that sub button. Let's close out today's show with talking about Brandon Aiyuk, as the star wide receiver from San Francisco requested a trade today. Mike Garafolo had the initial note that Aiyuk has officially requested a trade after an offseason of unsuccessful attempts to reach an extension. Despite a recent meeting, the Niners haven't been willing to engage in negotiations since May, so Aiyuk has respectively asked out. And I know a lot of people are going to go in the comments section and say, Nick, the Dolphins aren't trading for Brandon Aiyuk. We have Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, Odell Beckham Jr. Yeah, I know. I want you to hold on just a second. We're talking about Brandon Aiyuk because it really could impact the Miami Dolphins, though. They aren't going to trade for him. But what about the Bills and Patriots? Those two teams desperately need a wide receiver 1. New England hasn't had a wide receiver 1 in what feels like a decade. And Buffalo just traded away Stephon Diggs, and their number 1 wide receiver is who? Keon Coleman? Like, they might need to add someone, and maybe they want to go out and trade for Brandon Aiyuk, and that would be quite the scary situation. We already have documented interest from New England on Aiyuk because Josina Anderson sent out this tweet today, but it's been widely reported in the past as well that the Patriots have had conversations and at least had exploratory negotiations with San Francisco on a Brandon Aiyuk trade. And I got to be honest, I need Aiyuk to stay far, far away from the Miami Dolphins division. He is such a damn good football player, man. He is. He has improved every single year of his career. He's entering the final year of his rookie contract, 5th-year option. And he has got better every year. finally eclipsing over 1,000 yards just 2 seasons ago, and then backed it up with a 1,300-yard season in 2023 and had 7 touchdowns. And you might say, like, well, he's not that good. He's not a top 10 guy. I actually think he is. And I've said this before. If Aiyuk was a wide receiver 1 on a more pass-heavy offense, he would put up 1,500 yards easily. He's got great hands. He's got great speed, and he is an absolute technician with his route running ability. It's just that the 49ers have a ton of mouths to feed and are one of the lowest passing rate teams in the entire NFL, and I understand why when you have Christian McCaffrey in that offensive line, right? Like, they have Debo, CMC, Kittle. They just got a lot of mouths to feed, and if you don't have a high passing volume already, well, there's not going to be a lot of opportunities for Aiyuk to be a 1,500-yard guy. But if he was the wide receiver 1 in Buffalo or even New England, he would be able to terrorize a lot of teams and just give Miami more to think about when playing those division rivals twice a year. I don't want it. I think it would be a disaster. Obviously, New England probably isn't ready to compete anyway. But if he went to Buffalo, that's not good, folks, because I think he's better than Stephon Diggs. And let me know, though, what team ends up trading for Brandon Aiyuk? Predict it for me down in the comments section. It could be nobody. It could be the Commanders. It could be the Steelers. But let me know what team you think trades for BA. If I actually had to give my prediction, I think he's staying with San Francisco. And there's already been numerous reports out there from NFL insiders is that even though Brandon Aiyuk requested a trade from the San Francisco 49ers, the 49ers have no intention in trading him. And why would they? They have a win-now roster. And even if they wanted to play the franchise tag game and dare Aiyuk to sit out, like, he's still a valued member of that squad. They want to win a title now after coming up short just a year ago. Like, they're not going to get rid of one of the top wide receivers in football, especially when you're paying Brock Purdy next to nothing right now. You're not going to do it, and that's why I think he stays in San Francisco unless some team comes in with a massive trade offer that features like 1 or 2 first-round picks. But I will say San Francisco's in an odd spot because if they don't want to trade him and they don't want to pay him, then what are you going to plan on doing? Kind of odd. Make sure you do follow me over on Twitter at Nick_Roloff because we're going to continue the conversation on the Miami Dolphins over there. I am a great follow, at least I think so. So go give me a follow, and I'll see you in the video tomorrow. Go Fins.